The sky above Seoul turned dark at 3 in the afternoon. It wasn't clouds that blocked the sun. Massive ships, each one the size of a city, hung in the atmosphere like metal gods. They appeared over every major city on Earth within minutes. London, New York, Tokyo, Mumbai. Everywhere, people looked up and saw the same thing. Humanity was no longer alone, and their visitors did not come in peace. Commander Thexus of the Volcron Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the blue planet below. His 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Another primitive world, another easy conquest. The humans had joined the Galactic Council 15 years ago, but everyone knew they were weak. Their technology was laughable. Their military was small. They would surrender within hours, just like the 47 other species his empire had crushed. He opened a communication channel that broadcast to every device on Earth. His translator made his words clear in every human language. Humans of Earth, I am Commander Thexus. Your planet is now claimed by the Velcrin Empire. You have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally. Resist, and we will turn your cities to ash. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. Thexus leaned back in his command chair, already thinking about the resources this planet would provide. The humans would beg for mercy. They always did. High above Earth's orbit, Ambassador Day One sat in his transport ship, returning from a council meeting. He had spent 3 days listening to other species argue about trade routes and mining rights. Boring, predictable politics. His assistant rushed into the cabin, her face pale. Sir, we have a situation. The Velcrins are at Earth. Day One looked at the data on his screen. A full invasion fleet, over 300 warships. The council had already convened an emergency session. He read through the messages quickly. Most species offered sympathy, but no help. Some suggested humanity negotiate terms of surrender. A few privately thought Earth would be wiped out before sunset. Set course for the council chambers, Day One said calmly, and send a message to Earth. Tell them I'll handle the political side. They know what to do. His assistant stared at him. Sir, shouldn't we return to Earth? Our families are safer than the Velcrins think, Day One replied with a slight smile. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, General Hana stood before a wall of holographic displays. Each one showed a different Velcrin ship, their positions, their weapon systems, their shield frequencies. Information poured in from satellites, ground stations, and sources the Galactic Council didn't know existed. Her second-in-command, Colonel Yuna, stood beside her. The civilians are evacuated. Shelters are sealed. All defensive positions are ready. Good. Hana studied the enemy formation. They're arrogant. Look at how they're positioned. No defensive formation. They think we'll just give up. The Council thinks we will too, Yuna said. Hana's expression hardened. The Council has always underestimated us. Let them watch. Let them all watch. At a military base in Norway, pilot Chi-Wan ran through her pre-flight checks. Her fighter jet sat in an underground hangar, one of hundreds hidden across the globe. The craft looked nothing like the primitive aircraft humanity had shown the Council. It was sleek, deadly, and built with technology Earth had kept secret for over a decade. Falcon Squadron, ready for launch, she said into her comm. Hold position, came the reply. Wait for the signal. Ji-Wan gripped her controls. She had trained for this moment her entire adult life. Not for the Velcrins specifically, but for someone like them. Earth's leaders had always known this day would come. The galaxy was not a peaceful place, despite what the Council pretended. There were predators out there, and Earth needed to be ready. The 24 hours passed slowly. News broadcasts showed. Panicked crowds, though most people followed evacuation orders calmly. Humanity had drilled for this. Schools taught emergency procedures. Every city had shelter systems. The world held its breath. In the council chambers, thousands of light years away, representatives from dozens of species gathered. Day one stood at the human podium, listening to the debate. "We must condemn this action," one ambassador said. "The Velkrins cannot simply invade a council member. But can we stop them?" Another asked. "Their military is too strong. Perhaps humanity should negotiate." "Negotiate?" A third species spoke up. "The Velkrins don't negotiate. They conquer. Earth is doomed." Day one waited for his turn to speak. When the chamber quieted, he stepped forward. "The Galactic Council has made its position clear. You will observe, but not intervene. We accept this." "Ambassador, perhaps you should return to Earth," one kindly alien suggested, "to be with your people in their final hours." "That won't be necessary," Day one said. Several species looked confused by his calm tone. He sat back down and watched the timer count down to 0. On Earth, the deadline arrived. Commander Thexus broadcast again. "Your time is up, humans. No surrender has been received. We will now demonstrate our power. Witness the price of defiance." His weapons officer targeted an empty area of ocean, far from any city. A beam of energy shot from the flagship, striking the water. A column of steam rose kilometers into the air. The ocean boiled. "That was a warning," Thexus said. "A next strike will be on one of your cities. You have 1 hour to—" Alarms shrieked across his bridge. His tactical officer's voice cracked with confusion. "Sir, energy signatures. Multiple contacts appearing on sensors." "What contacts?" "The humans have nothing that—" The view screen lit up with warnings. All around Earth, massive structures shimmered into existence. They had been there all along, hidden by technology far beyond what humanity had shown the Council. Orbital platforms, each one bristling with weapons that made Velkren cannons look like toys. "Impossible," Thexus breathed. On Earth, Hana spoke into her cone. "All units, this is command. Light them up." The platforms opened fire. Beams of concentrated energy, missiles that moved faster than Velkrin point defense could track, and weapons that bent space itself. The Velkrin fleet's shields flickered and failed under the assault. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves taking damage from an enemy they thought was helpless. Launch fighters, Hana ordered. Underground hangars across the planet opened. Jiwan and thousands of other pilots rocketed into the sky. Their ships moved with impossible agility, dodging Velkrin fire and striking back with precision that seemed almost supernatural. In the council chambers, observers watching live feeds sat in stunned silence. Their sensors detected energy readings that shouldn't exist. Weapons that violated their understanding of physics. Ships that moved faster than their fastest designs. One observer, Captain Milleris, frantically recorded everything. His voice shook as he spoke into his log. "They've been hiding this. All of it. For 15 years, they let us think they were weak. But this is not a primitive species. This is a military power unlike anything we've seen." Day one sat quietly, watching the same feeds. Around him, other ambassadors turned to stare. Some looked afraid, others looked angry. He met their gazes calmly and said nothing. In space above Earth, Commander Thexus screamed orders at his crew. "Full power to shields. Return fire. All ships, attack pattern Omega." But his fleet was already in chaos. 3 of his capital ships were crippled. A dozen smaller vessels were destroyed. And the human fighters, those impossibly fast fighters, were everywhere. His weapons officer looked up, terror in his eyes. "Sir, their targeting is perfect. They're hitting our weak points. They know exactly where to strike." "How?" "Our ships are classified. No one outside the Empire knows our designs." Yuna, watching from her station on Earth, allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had been part of the Council for 15 years. In that time, their spies had gathered information on every major military power in the galaxy, every ship design, every weapon system, every weakness. They had prepared for this war long before it started. Thexus made a decision. Prepare the planetary bombardment device. We'll crack this planet in half. His crew hesitated. That weapon was meant for last resorts. It took time to charge, and during that time, the ship using it was vulnerable. Do it! Thexus roared Dot in her bunker. Hannah saw the energy build up on her sensors. They're going for the big gun. Perfect. Perfect? Yuna looked at her commander. That weapon can split a planet. Let them try, Hannah said, her smile cold. Let them try. The Galactic Council's observation fleet arrived at Earth just as the battle reached its peak. 10 ships from different species, all equipped with the most advanced sensors available, positioned themselves in high orbit. Their mission was simple. Record the fall of humanity for the historical archives. Write the final chapter of Earth's brief time in the galaxy. Captain Melrus commanded the lead observation vessel. He was from a species known for their careful nature and sharp minds. His people had survived 1,000 years by never taking sides in wars. They watched, recorded, and learned. But as his sensors locked onto the battle below, Melrus felt something he rarely experienced. Pure shock. This cannot be correct, his sensor officer said. Check the readings again. I've checked 3 times, Captain. The human weapons are operating at energy levels that should be impossible for their technology tier. Melrus watched his screens. The Velcran Empire was one of the most feared military powers in the galaxy. They had crushed species with far more experience than humanity. Yet here, in Earth's orbit, Velcran ships were being torn apart. Not slowly, not in a grinding battle of attrition, but systematically, professionally, like a surgeon cutting away disease. Send an encrypted message to the Council, Melrus said quietly. Tell them we need to recalculate everything we know about humanity. On the Velcran flagship, Commander Thexus watched his battle display with growing horror. Half his fleet was damaged or destroyed. The human fighters were impossible to hit. They moved like they could predict where his weapons would fire before the shots were even launched. His shields, built from technology stolen from 6 different conquered species, were failing. The planetary weapon is at 70% charge, his weapons officer reported. How long until we can fire? 6 more minutes, Commander. 6 minutes. Thexus just needed to survive 6 more minutes. Then he would show these humans the true power of the Velcran Empire. He would split their planet like rotten fruit. Let them hide their fancy weapons in the rubble. But the humans seemed to know his plan. Jiwan's fighter squadron, along with 50 others, broke off from the main battle. They streaked toward the flagship in a coordinated attack pattern that was beautiful and terrifying to watch. No wasted movement. No hesitation. Pure lethal efficiency. Point defense stopped them. Thexus ordered. Weapons fire filled the space around the flagship. Explosions blossomed like deadly flowers. But the human fighters danced through it all. Jiwan rolled her craft, dodged 3 missiles, and fired a burst that took out one of the flagship's shield generators. Around her, other pilots did the same. Training, practice, preparation. Everything humanity had done in secret for 15 years was paying off. Inside the flagship, alarms wailed. Shield generators 3 and 7 are down. Hull breaches on decks 9 through 12. The planetary weapon was at 90% charge. So close, Thexus gripped his command chair. All power to the weapon. Drain shields if you have to. Just let us fire. On Earth, in her command bunker, Hannah watched the countdown. She had known the Velcrans would try this. She had planned for it. Around the planet, Hidden deep in the crust, massive generators that had taken decades to build hummed to life. They drew power from Earth's core itself, channeling forces that could reshape continents. "All stations report ready," Una said. "Planetary shield is ready to deploy." "Wait for it," Hana said calmly. "Let them commit." The Velcrin weapon reached full charge. Thexus slammed his fist on the firing control. "Fire! Crack this world and everything on it." A beam of purple energy, thick as a mountain, erupted from the flagship. It tore through space, aimed at Earth's surface. In the Council observation ships, crew members turned away. They didn't want to watch a planet die, but the beam never reached the ground. 1 kilometer above Earth's atmosphere, it struck an invisible barrier. Energy cascaded across the surface of a shield that wrapped around the entire planet. The air lit up with colors no natural light could produce. The beam pushed against the shield, trying to penetrate, trying to destroy, and the shield held. More than that, it reflected. The beam split, scattered, and bounced back toward the Velcrin flagship. Not all of it, but enough. The reflected energy struck the ship's already damaged hull. Explosions ripped through 3 decks. The flagship's power core destabilized. "Impossible!" Thexus screamed. "No species has planetary-scale shield technology. The Council banned research into it decades ago." Melrus, watching from his observation ship, spoke into his recorder with a shaking voice. "The humans have achieved what the greatest minds in the galaxy said was impossible. A stable, planet-wide defensive shield powered by geothermal energy. The amount of coordination, the level of technology required ... They didn't develop this in 15 years. They had to have been working on it before they even joined the Council." Other observers were coming to the same conclusion. Humanity hadn't stumbled onto the galactic stage as a primitive species looking for guidance. They had stepped onto it as a fully prepared military power, deliberately hiding their true capabilities. The question was, why? Representative Quen from the Dravic species forced his way onto a communication channel with Day One. His face appeared on the ambassador's screen, his features twisted with anger. "You deceived us. You lied to the entire Council about your capabilities." Day One looked at him calmly. "We never lied. We simply didn't show you everything. There's a difference. You let us think you were weak." "We let you assume we were weak," Day One corrected. "You saw what you wanted to see. A young species, eager for guidance, grateful for a place in the galactic community. We gave you no reason to think otherwise. Why?" Quen demanded. "Why hide such power?" Day One's expression turned cold. "Because we wanted to see what kind of galaxy we had joined. We needed to know who our real friends were. And we needed to be ready for moments exactly like this one." In orbit, the battle had turned into a rout. Commander Thexus finally accepted reality. His invasion had failed. His fleet was shattered. If he stayed, every ship would be destroyed. All vessels retreat. Full power to engines. "We're leaving this cursed system." Hana watched the Velcrin ships turn to flee. She could let them go. The threat was over. Earth was safe. But she couldn't allow that. She opened a channel to all her commanders. "Attention all units. No Velcrin ship leaves this system. We cannot let them warn their empire about our true capabilities. Hunt them down." Una looked at her superior officer. "All of them?" "That's over 100 ships still functional." "All of them," Hana confirmed. "Today, the Velcrins learn what happens when you threaten Earth." What happened next shocked even the hardened military observers in the Council fleet. Ships that humanity had never revealed before uncloaked across the system. These weren't defense platforms. They were warships. Fast, deadly, and equipped with weapons that bent the rules of physics. G1 Squadron received new orders. Falcon Squadron, go hunting. Target the fleeing capital ships. No survivors. Confirmed, Jiwan replied. Her fighter's engines flared brighter as she accelerated beyond what should have been possible. Behind her, her squadron matched her speed. They fell on the retreating Velkrans like wolves on wounded prey. The human AI systems were another surprise. They hacked into Velkran communications, blocking distress signals, preventing any warning from reaching the Empire. Every message the Velkrans tried to send vanished into static. They would die alone, and no one would know how or why. Commander Thexus made it 3 light minutes from Earth before a spread of missiles caught his damaged flagship. The last thing he saw was a human fighter flying past his view screen. The pilot looked at him through her canopy. She didn't smile, didn't gloat. She just looked at him with the cold eyes of a predator. Then his ship exploded, and Thexus knew nothing more. 3 hours after the battle began, it was over. 312 Velkran ships had entered Earth's system. 312 Velkran ships were now debris fields or prisoners. Not one escaped. Not one got a message out. In the Council observation fleet, silence reigned. Melrus stared at his sensor logs, knowing that every species in the galaxy would demand to see them. The humans didn't just win. They executed a perfect military operation. Coordination across millions of soldiers and thousands of ships. Technology we didn't know existed. And most terrifying of all, they clearly planned for this. For all of this. Captain Rel from another observation ship contacted him. Melrus, did you see how they fought? No hesitation. No mercy once the battle turned. They fought like a species that's been at war for centuries. Maybe they have been, Melrus said quietly. Just not in space. Their own planet's history is full of warfare. While we were learning to share resources peacefully, they were perfecting the art of war. We thought that made them primitive. We were wrong. Back in the council chambers, Quen turned to Day One. Your people just destroyed an entire Velkran fleet. The Empire will retaliate. They'll send everything they have. No, they won't, Day One said calmly. Because no message will reach them about what happened here. By the time they wonder why their fleet went silent, we'll be ready for them too. But I don't think it will come to that. Why not? Day One smiled. Because in approximately 30 minutes, Earth is going to broadcast footage of this battle to every council member species. We're going to show the entire galaxy exactly what happens when someone attacks humanity. The Velkran Empire will see what happened to their invincible fleet. And they'll think very carefully before trying again. Quen's eyes widened. You're using this as a warning. To everyone. We're using this as a truth, Day One corrected. For 15 years, we've been underestimated, patronized. Some species have even discussed invading Earth themselves. That ends today. Today, the galaxy learns what we really are. Hana stood in her bunker, surrounded by her staff. The celebration was muted. They had won, but the cost would come later. The political fallout. The fear. The anger. But it had to be done. Prepare the broadcast package, she ordered. Full footage. Every camera. Every battle. Let them see it all. Ma'am, some of our technology will be exposed, an officer warned. Good, Hannah said. Let them see enough to know we're dangerous. But not enough to know all our secrets. We still have cards to play. The broadcast went out on all council channels. No encryption, no restrictions. Anyone could watch. And everyone did. Across the galaxy, species watched humanity's true power revealed for the first time. The galaxy watched. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds saw the footage from Earth. The broadcasts played on every news network, every government feed, every public screen. What they saw changed everything they thought they knew about humanity. On the industrial world of Dravik Prime, military commanders gathered in war rooms, analyzing every second of the battle. They ran simulations, trying to understand how humanity had achieved such devastating efficiency. Every simulation came back with the same conclusion. This was not luck. This was not desperation. This was the result of decades of careful planning and preparation. General Vorak of the Dravik military slammed his fist on the table. We were going to expand toward human space next year. We had the fleet assignments ready. The invasion routes planned. His second-in-command nodded slowly. We should cancel those plans. Cancel them? Vorak laughed bitterly. We should burn every document that mentions them. If the humans discovered we were planning an invasion, after seeing what they did to the VEL crans... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. On the merchant world of Telia, the Consortium Council held an emergency meeting. Their entire economy was built on trade and information. They prided themselves on knowing everything about everyone. Yet they had completely missed humanity's true nature. Merchant Prince Callis addressed the council. We need trade agreements with Earth immediately. Whoever secures exclusive deals with human technology will control the next century of galactic commerce. But the risks, another merchant argued. What if they decide to simply take what they want? Who could stop them? The room fell silent. That was the new reality. Nobody could stop humanity if they chose aggression. The best they could hope for was that Earth's people would choose to trade rather than conquer. But not everyone was scrambling to make friends. On the peaceful garden world of Ulmer, the Council of Elders met in secret. They had always presented themselves as humanity's friends, guiding the young species with wisdom and kindness. The truth was different. Elder Senna spoke to the gathered leaders. The plan failed. The Velkrans were supposed to crush Earth. We gave them the coordinates, the false intelligence about human weakness. And look what happened. Why did we do this? A younger elder asked. What threat did humanity pose to us? The same threat they pose to everyone now, Senna replied. They advance too quickly. Their technology grows too fast. In another 50 years, they could surpass us all. We needed them destroyed before that happened. What do we do now? Senna's expression was grim. We deny everything. We act shocked and sympathetic. And we pray the humans never find proof of our involvement. But Earth had proof. Day One sat in a secure room aboard his ship, reviewing intelligence that had been gathered over the past month. Human operatives, working quietly across council space, had uncovered the conspiracy. 3 species had worked together to arrange Earth's destruction. The Dravik, because they wanted to expand into human territory. The Telians, because they saw humanity as an economic threat. And the Ulmer, who feared human technological advancement. The evidence was clear. Encrypted communications. Money transfers. The leak of Earth's defensive assessments to the Velkrans. It was all there, documented and verified. Yuna had been the one to piece it together. She stood with Day One now, looking at the data. We have enough to prove their guilt beyond doubt. What do you want to do? Present it to the full council, Day One said. But not yet. First, I want to watch them scramble. Let them send their friendly messages. Let them offer trade deals and alliances. Then we show them we know the truth. Meanwhile, Hana authorized the next phase of humanity's revelation. If they were going to show their power, they might as well show all of it. She sent orders to Fleet Command, an organization the galaxy didn't even know existed. Admiral Taiyang received the orders at humanity's hidden shipyard, built in a dead system far from any trade route. He read them twice to make sure he understood. Then he smiled. Finally. I was getting tired of hiding. The shipyard had been under construction for 30 years. since before humanity even made contact with the Council. Earth's leaders had always known they would need a real military for space. The ships at Earth were just the defensive fleet. These ships, the ones being built here, were humanity's sword. Taiyang walked through the main hangar, looking at the vessels that represented humanity's true power. Dreadnoughts that could crack moons. Carriers that held thousands of fighters. Destroyers equipped with weapons that could tear through any known shield. And the crown jewel, the flagship Indomitable, a ship so large it had its own ecosystem inside. "Prepare the fleet for departure," Taiyang ordered. "We're going to make a diplomatic visit to the Council homeworld." His staff exchanged glances. Some smiled. Others looked worried. All of them understood what this meant. Humanity was done hiding. Back on Earth, Jiwan and her squadron were being celebrated as heroes. But Jiwan felt uncomfortable with the attention. She had just done her job. Thousands of other pilots had done the same. The victory belonged to all of them, not to any individual. She visited the memorial wall, where the names of every human who died in the battle were displayed. 23 names. 23 people who would never go home. The Velkrans lost over 40,000 crew members. Earth lost 23. It was an incredible victory by any measure, but each of those 23 was a person with family, friends, dreams. "We need to make sure this meant something," she said quietly to the wall. "We need to make sure the galaxy knows we won't start fights, but we'll always finish them." In the Galactic Council chambers, the emergency session continued. Representatives from 50 species argued about what to do. Should they sanction humanity for excessive force? Should they celebrate Earth's victory? Should they be terrified of what humanity might do next? Representative Quen stood to speak. "We must address the real issue. Humanity deceived us. They hid their capabilities. How can we trust them?" Day One rose to respond. "You're asking the wrong question. You should be asking why we felt the need to hide. You should be asking what kind of galaxy we discovered when we joined the Council. And what kind did you discover?" Another representative asked. "One where the strong prey on the weak," Day One said simply. "One where military power determines who gets respect. You all assumed we were weak, and some of you planned to take advantage of that. We learned very quickly that showing weakness in this galaxy is an invitation to be conquered." Murmur spread through the chamber. He was right, and they all knew it. The Council preached peace and cooperation, but the reality was different. Species jockeyed for power. Trade wars turned into real wars. The strong expanded while the weak barely survived. "So we prepared," Day One continued. "We watched. We learned. And we made sure that when someone inevitably tried to destroy us, we would be ready. The Velkrans were just the first. We know they won't be the last. Is that a threat?" Quen demanded. "It's a fact," Day One replied. "But here's another fact. Despite everything, Earth wants peace. We could have left the Council after this. We could have declared ourselves independent and dared anyone to challenge us. We didn't. We're still here. We still believe in the ideals the Council claims to represent. We just won't let those ideals make us victims." The session was interrupted by a priority alert. The Council's sensor network had detected a massive fleet approaching the Council homeworld. Hundreds of ships. Unknown design. Unknown origin. Coming in fast, panic erupted. Is it another attack? Are the Velkrans retaliating? "It's not the Velkrans," the sensor officer reported. "The ship designs don't match any known species. Wait, ... We're receiving an identification signal." They single quotes re ... human. The chamber fell absolutely silent. Every eye turned to Day One. He stood calmly, showing no surprise. "That would be our diplomatic escort. I hope you don't mind. We thought it was time to properly introduce ourselves. On screens throughout the chamber, images appeared of Admiral Taiyang's fleet. Ships that made the Velcrin invasion force look small. Weapons that registered off the scale on Council sensors. This wasn't a defense fleet. This was a force designed to project power across the galaxy. Melrus, still in orbit around Earth with the other observers, watched the new fleet arrive at the Council homeworld. He added another entry to his report. The defensive fleet at Earth was just the beginning. Humanity has a second fleet, hidden until now, that surpasses anything in known space. We didn't discover a primitive species. We discovered a sleeping military superpower. And we woke it up. Taiyang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the Council homeworld below. It was a beautiful planet, carefully maintained as a neutral ground for all species. He had no intention of threatening it, but he wanted every species in the Council to see his ships and understand what they meant. Open a channel to the Council, he ordered. Let's introduce ourselves properly. His face appeared on screens throughout the Council chambers. He wore a simple uniform, no decorations, no ceremony. Just a military man doing his job. Greetings, Galactic Council. I am Admiral Taiyang of the Human Fleet Command. We've come to ensure the safety of Ambassador Day 1 during these uncertain times. We mean no threat to anyone, but we thought it was important that you see exactly who you're dealing with. It was a message wrapped in politeness, but everyone understood the real meaning. Humanity had a fleet that could challenge any power in the galaxy. They had kept it hidden for years. And now that the secret was out, the political landscape had changed forever. In a private communication, Hana spoke with Day 1. Are you sure? About this? Showing them everything? Not everything, Day 1 replied. Just enough to make our point. We're not prey. We're not weak, and anyone who threatens Earth will regret it. Some species will hate us for this. Let them, Day 1 said. Fear and respect are more useful than affection and contempt. We can work on friendship later, once everyone understands the rules. Across the galaxy, military planners recalculated their strategies. Trade agreements were rushed through diplomatic channels. Species that had ignored humanity suddenly sent warm messages of friendship. The 3 conspirator species sent the friendliest messages of all, desperately trying to show they had nothing but good intentions toward Earth. The message from Elder Senna of Olver arrived 3 days after Admiral Taiyang's fleet reached the Council homeworld. It was warm, friendly, and completely fake. Day 1 read it in his quarters, noting every carefully chosen word. The Olmer wished to strengthen their friendship with humanity. They wanted to arrange cultural exchanges. They praised Earth's victory over the Velcrins and expressed relief that their dear friends were safe. Day 1 forwarded the message to Hana and Yuna. The Olmer are getting nervous. They should be. Yuna had spent the last week analyzing every piece of evidence they had gathered. The conspiracy went deeper than they first thought. The 3 species had been planning humanity's destruction for over 2 years. They had carefully selected the Velcrons as their weapon, knowing that species' reputation for ruthlessness. They had leaked false intelligence about Earth's defenses, making humanity look like an easy target. We have communications between their leadership, Yuna reported. We have financial records showing payments to information brokers. We even have surveillance footage of their representatives meeting in secret. It's all documented. How did our people get this evidence? Day 1 asked. Yuna smiled slightly. You don't want to know. Let's just say Earth's intelligence services are as advanced as our military. While Earth prepared to reveal the conspiracy, the rest of the galaxy was still processing humanity's military revelation. On the Dravik homeworld, General Vorak's career ended abruptly. His superiors discovered the invasion plans he had been preparing. Plans that would have sent Dravik forces into human space within a year. Plans that, after seeing what happened to the Velkrans, looked like a suicide mission. "You would have destroyed us," the Dravik High Commander said coldly. "The humans would have annihilated our fleet, then probably followed it back here. We would have brought extinction to our own doorstep." Vorak had no defense. He was stripped of rank and exiled. The Dravik government immediately opened diplomatic channels with Earth, desperately trying to show they had no hostile intentions. They offered trade deals, technology exchanges, anything to avoid being seen as a threat. But privately, in secret channels, the Dravik leadership contacted the Tellians and Ulmer. "The humans know nothing about our involvement. As long as we stay calm, we'll survive this." They were wrong. Earth knew everything. On the merchant world of Tellia, business was booming. Every company wanted to secure contracts with Earth. Human technology was suddenly the most valuable commodity in the galaxy. But Merchant Prince Callus knew the truth. He had helped arrange the Velkran invasion. He had provided the financial backing. And now his entire fortune was at risk. He called an emergency meeting with his partners. "We need to cover our tracks, delete communications, pay off anyone who knows, whatever it costs." "It might already be too late," one merchant warned. "The humans have been operating in our space for years. Who knows what they've discovered?" Callus refused to panic. "We've been careful. Everything was encrypted. Everything was hidden. They have no proof." While the conspirators scrambled, humanity continued its diplomatic offensive. Jiwan was assigned to escort a council diplomatic vessel traveling through a dangerous region. Pirates had been raiding trade routes, and the council's military was stretched thin. They asked Earth for help. Jiwan's small squadron, just 6 fighters, met the diplomatic ship at the edge of council space. The ship's captain was grateful, but clearly nervous. He had seen the battle footage from Earth. He knew what human fighters could do. "Thank you for the escort," the captain said over the comm. "We should be safe with you here." "That's the plan," Jiwan replied. Her sensors were already sweeping the area. Pirates usually operated in predictable patterns. They watched for vulnerable ships, then struck fast with overwhelming numbers. 2 hours into the journey, her sensors picked up multiple contacts. 15 ships moving to intercept. Pirates, just as expected. The diplomatic ship's captain saw them too and began broadcasting distress signals. "Stay calm," Jiwan told him. "We'll handle this." The pirate leader, a krill named Vex, saw the 6 human fighters and laughed. 6 fighters against 15 armed raiders? These humans are fools. Easy prey. He had not watched the battle footage. If he had, he might have made different choices. His fleet moved in to attack, weapons charging. The human fighters didn't run. They didn't even try to negotiate. They simply accelerated toward the pirates. What happened next lasted less than 4 minutes. Jiwan's squadron moved like they were connected by invisible strings. Each pilot knew exactly where the others were, exactly what they were doing. They wove through the pirate formation, weapons firing with perfect precision. One pirate ship exploded, then another, then 3 more at once. Vex's laughter died as half his fleet vanished in flames. What are they? How are they doing this? He tried to retreat, but the human fighters were faster. Jiwan's targeting system locked onto his engines. A single burst disabled his ship. The other pirates scattered, but none escaped. The squadron hunted them down one by one, disabling rather than destroying when possible. Within 4 minutes, 15 pirate ships were either destroyed or captured. The diplomatic ship's captain stared at his sensors in disbelief. 1 human fighter is worth. He couldn't finish the calculation. It was too overwhelming. News of the encounter spread quickly. A single human squadron had done what would have taken a council task force days to accomplish. Species across the galaxy began to realize that the battle at Earth wasn't a fluke. This was standard performance for humanity. Back at the council chambers, Day One prepared for the moment of truth. He had requested a full session with representatives from every member species present. The request alone caused concern. Humans rarely asked for full sessions. This had to be important. The chamber filled. Representatives took their seats. Quen was there, suspicious and alert. So were representatives from Ulmer, Telia, and Dravik, all trying to look confident. Melrus attended as an observer, his keen mind already sensing something significant was about to happen. Day One walked to the central podium. He carried a data chip containing all the evidence Yuna had gathered. Thanked you all for coming. I have. Information that affects the security of every species in this council. He loaded the data into the chamber's main system. Screens lit up with communications, financial records, surveillance footage. 3 weeks ago, the Velkrin Empire invaded Earth. We now know this wasn't a random act of aggression. It was arranged by 3 species in this very chamber. Gasps echoed through the room. The representatives from Ulmer, Telia, and Dravik went pale. Quen half rose from his seat, his face twisted with panic. This is a lie. We would never. The evidence speaks for itself, A1 interrupted. He played an audio recording of Elder Senna speaking with Merchant Prince Cullis. Their voices were clear as they discussed how to make Earth look like an easy target, how to convince the Velkrins to attack, how to ensure humanity was destroyed before they became too powerful. The chamber erupted. Species that had been friends with the conspirators felt betrayed. Others demanded immediate punishment. The 3 accused species tried to defend themselves, but the evidence was overwhelming. Every communication, every payment, every secret meeting was documented. Elder Senna stood, his aged face now showing real fear. We were protecting the Council. Humanity was advancing too quickly. They were hiding their technology. They were a threat to everyone. So you tried to have an entire species exterminated. Melrus spoke up from the observer section. His voice carried the weight of his people's long neutrality. You betrayed the fundamental principles of this council. You arranged genocide because you were afraid. We had no idea they were so powerful, Callus protested. We thought the Velkrins would simply occupy Earth, force them to share their technology. We didn't know it would turn into a massacre. You mean you didn't expect us to win? Day One said coldly. You expected us to die, and you were willing to watch it happen. Quen looked around desperately for support, but found none. Even the Dravik's traditional allies were backing away. What do you want from us? He finally asked. Day One looked at him for a long moment. Justice. Under council law, you face trial for conspiracy to commit genocide, illegal warfare, and betrayal of council trust. The evidence will be reviewed by an independent tribunal. If found guilty, the penalties could range from severe economic sanctions to expulsion from the council. And what does Earth want? Senna asked quietly. Earth wants what we've always wanted, Day One replied. To be left in peace. To be treated with respect. To exist in a galaxy where strength isn't the only thing that matters. He paused. But we also want the galaxy to understand something. If you come for us with lies and betrayal, we'll meet you with truth and justice. If you come for us with violence, we'll meet you with overwhelming force. The choice has always been yours. Hannah watched the session from Earth, satisfied with how Day One handled it. But she knew this was just the beginning. The conspirators would face justice, but there were hundreds of other species in the galaxy. Some would learn from this. Others wouldn't. Earth needed to stay ready. Keep the defense platforms on standby, she ordered. Keep the fleet ready. And keep our intelligence operations running. This isn't over. Yuna nodded. Do you think they'll try again? Different species? Different methods? Someone will, Hana said. Humanity has always faced enemies. That won't change just because we're in space now. But we've also always survived. That won't change either. The tribunal convened within days. Evidence was reviewed by neutral parties. The verdict came quickly. Guilty on all charges. The Olmer were expelled from the council entirely. The Tellians faced massive economic sanctions that would cripple their merchant empire for decades. The Dravik were placed under military oversight, forbidden from expanding their territory or increasing their fleet size. It was harsh but fair. The galaxy had rules. The conspirators had broken them. They would pay the price, but something else came from the trial. A new understanding. Humanity had shown they could fight, but they had also shown they could show mercy. They could have used their fleet to destroy the conspirators' homeworlds. Instead, they chose justice. They chose the Council's own laws and procedures. Species that had feared Earth began to respect it. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchanges began. Slowly, carefully, humanity started to build real relationships in the galaxy. In her fighter. Returning from another escort mission, Ji-Won thought about the future. Earth had proven it could defend itself. Now came the harder part. Learning to live in a galaxy full of species with different values, different needs, different dreams. It wouldn't be easy. But humanity had never chosen the easy path. The emergency alarms in the council chambers had never sounded before. Not in 300 years of council history. They were designed for only one scenario: extinction-level threat. Species across the galaxy heard the sound and felt their blood run cold. Captain Melrus was in his quarters when the alarm reached his ship. He rushed to the bridge, demanding answers. His sensor officer's hands shook as she brought up the readings. Captain, we have multiple contacts entering the system. Thousands of ships. The signature matches. It matches the Scourge. The Scourge. The name itself was a curse in every language. A hive mind species that didn't trade, didn't negotiate, didn't coexist. They consumed entire planets, harvesting every living thing for biomass. They had destroyed 6 species before the Council learned to hide from them, abandoning entire regions of space just to keep their location secret. How did they find us? Melrus asked. But he already knew. The Velcrin invasion, the massive human fleet appearing, all the broadcasts and communications. The galaxy had been lit up with activity for weeks. The Scourge must have detected it and traced it back to its source. In the council chambers. Panic consumed every representative. The Scourge fleet was already in the system, moving toward the council homeworld. Estimates gave them hours before the planet was within strike range. The council's defense fleet, already stretched thin, scrambled to respond. But everyone who knew anything about the Scourge understood the truth. They had no chance. The Scourge didn't just destroy. They harvested. Every living being would be consumed, processed, added to their biomass. It was a fate worse than simple death. And it was coming for the heart of galactic civilization. Quen, still facing criminal charges, but present for the emergency, spoke with desperation in his voice. We need to evacuate. Get as many people off the planet as we can. We don't have time, another representative said. The Scourge fleet is too fast. They'll overtake any evacuation convoy. Then what do we do? Someone asked. We can't fight them. Nobody can fight them. All eyes turned to the human section. Day One sat calmly in his seat, watching the tactical display. The expectation was clear. They wanted Earth to save them. The species that had dismissed humanity, the council that had tried to orchestrate their destruction, now looked to them for salvation. Representative Sarah from the peaceful Milan species spoke directly to Day One. Her voice cracked with emotion. Ambassador, I know we have no right to ask. We gave you nothing. Some of us even tried to destroy you. But there are billions of innocent people on this world. Children, families, please. Day One looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at the tactical display, showing the approaching scourge. I need to contact Earth. This decision is bigger than me. The communication channel opened. Hana's face appeared on the screen. She had been watching the situation develop. I see them. The scourge. We've been studying their tactics from old council records. The council is asking for help, that one said simply. Hana was quiet for a moment. They let us face the Valkyrians alone. Some of them arranged that attack. Why should we risk our people for them? Because it's the right thing to do, Day One replied. Because these aren't the same people who betrayed us. These are billions of innocent beings who will die if we do nothing. And because if we don't help now, we'll become exactly what they feared we were. Conquerors who only care about ourselves. Around him in the chambers, representatives held their breath. Some looked ashamed, knowing they didn't deserve this consideration. Others simply looked terrified. Hana sighed. You're right. Of course you're right. But this isn't a decision I can make alone. She turned to someone off-screen. Get me Fleet Command. Get me Admiral Taiyang. And get me the real fleet. Melrus, listening through the Council's communication systems, felt confusion. The real fleet? What does that mean? They already showed us their fleet. Day One heard him and almost smiled. No, Captain Melrus. We showed you a fleet. We never said it was the only one. Across the galaxy, in hidden systems and concealed bases, humanity's true military power stirred. The defensive fleet at Earth was real. The diplomatic fleet with Admiral Taiyang was real. But they were just pieces of a much larger force. For 30 years, since before first contact with the Council, humanity had been preparing for galactic warfare. They had built not one fleet, but 5. Each one specialized for different types of combat. Fleet Command was located in a massive station built inside a hollow asteroid. The facility was so well hidden that not even the best Council sensors could detect it. Admiral Taiyang arrived through a secure jump point. His diplomatic fleet linking up with something much larger. The fleet commander, Admiral Minho, stood in the command center surrounded by holographic displays showing every human military asset. The Scourge. I never thought we'd face them this soon. Are we ready? Taiyang asked. Minho nodded slowly. We've been studying them for years. Every battle record. Every encounter. We know their tactics, their weaknesses. If we're ever going to be ready, it's now. Then let's not keep them waiting. Back at the Council homeworld, the defense fleet engaged the Scourge. It was a massacre. Scourge ships didn't care about losses. They threw themselves at Council vessels in waves, overwhelming shields through sheer numbers. For every Scourge ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. The Council's best admirals fought brilliantly, but brilliance meant nothing against an enemy that felt no fear and accepted no surrender. In the chambers, representatives watched their fleet die. Ships exploded on the tactical display. Distress calls filled the channels. One by one, the Council's defenders were wiped away. How long until they reached the planet? Someone asked. 2 hours, came the reply. Maybe less. Day One stood. I'm told our fleet will arrive in 90 minutes. That's too long, Quen said. The Scourge will be in bombardment range by then. Then the Council fleet needs to hold them for 90 minutes, Day One replied. Can they do that? The Council's military coordinator, a grizzled veteran named Voss, studied the tactical situation. We'll lose every ship we have. But yes, we can delay them that long. Do it, the Council speaker ordered. All remaining ships, maximum engagement. Buy us those 90 minutes. What followed was one of the most desperate hours in galactic history. Council ships that would normally retreat to preserve their crews instead held position and fought to the death. Captains gave orders knowing they wouldn't live to see the result. Crews worked until their ships exploded around them. They died buying time for an ally they had dismissed, for a species they had underestimated. Ji-1 and her squadron launched from the orbital defense platforms, joining the desperate battle. Her small force couldn't stop the Scourge, but they could slow them down. She wove through the massive Scourge ships, targeting their weapons and engines. Around her, Council pilots did the same, their ships far less advanced, but their courage equal to any humans. Falcon leader to all Council ships, Ji-1 broadcast. Focus fire on their command vessels, the tall ones with the extra sensor arrays. Without coordination, the Scourge are less effective. Council pilots followed her lead. It was working barely. The Scourge advance slowed. Not much, but every second counted. 80 minutes into the battle, the Council fleet was gone. Every ship destroyed or disabled. Only Ji-1's squadron and a handful of other fighters remained, dodging between Scourge vessels, too small to be worth the attention of the massive ships. The Scourge Queen, the central intelligence of the hive mind, broadcast a message. It had never done this before. The Scourge didn't communicate, but it sensed something in the desperate defense, something worth acknowledging. Your resistance is noted. Your courage is meaningless. Prepare for harvest. Then space itself seemed to tear open. Not at one point, but at hundreds. Human ships emerged from jump points all around the system. Not the hundreds that Tai Yang had brought to the Council before. Thousands. Ship designs the Council had never seen. Weapons that registered off every known scale. Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, humanity's flagship. The ship was so large, it could have served as a mobile city. Its weapons alone could crack moons. And it was just one of 50 capital ships in the formation. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Weapons free. Show them what we're made of. The human fleet opened fire. The effect was immediate and devastating. Scourge ships that had shrugged off Council weapons like rain exploded under human fire. The hive mind's collective consciousness reeled. This was wrong. This shouldn't be possible. The prey species, the ones they were about to harvest, had weapons that hurt them. Yuna coordinated the battle from Earth, her strategic mind linking with the fleet's AI systems. She saw patterns in the Scourge movement, weak points in their formation. Targeting data sent. Strike teams hit these coordinates simultaneously. Human ships moved with mechanical precision. They didn't fight like individuals. They fought like a single organism, every ship perfectly coordinated with every other. The Scourge faced an enemy that matched their own hive mind. Efficiency but added human creativity and adaptability. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Scourge, which had never retreated in recorded history, found themselves being driven back. Their ships were destroyed faster than they could regenerate. Their tactics, perfected over millennia, were countered by an enemy that seemed to predict every move. Finally, the Scourge Queen tried something unprecedented. She opened communications. Cease hostilities. We will withdraw from this system. Admiral Minho looked at the message. Then he looked at the tactical display, showing the billions of beings on the Council homeworld below. He thought about the species the Scourge had already consumed. He thought about every world they had turned into a dead husk. Negative, he replied. You came here to harvest the innocent. You chose to make them prey. Today, you learn what humanity does to predators. Today, you become the hunted. The human fleet pressed the attack. They didn't accept the Scourge's retreat. They pursued every ship, hunted down every vessel trying to flee. The Scourge, for the first time in their existence, knew fear. Not the abstract concept, but the real, visceral terror of being prey to something stronger. G1's squadron led strike forces deep into the Scourge formation. They targeted the Queen's ship, a massive vessel at the center of the swarm. The Scourge threw everything at them, but human pilots were simply better. Better trained, better equipped, better coordinated. The Queen's ship tried to jump away, tried to escape, but human ships were faster. They caught it at the edge of the system and destroyed it. With the Queen gone, the Scourge fleet lost cohesion. Individual ships fled in panic, their hive mind fractured. None escaped. Admiral Tai Yang made sure of that. Pursue and eliminate. Every single ship. The Scourge chose to be monsters. We'll make sure they can't do it again. It took another 4 hours to hunt down the last Scourge vessel. When it was over, 4,000 Scourge ships floated in the void as burning wreckage. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was broken dot in the council chambers. Silence reigned. They had watched the entire battle. They had seen humanity do something that should have been impossible. They had seen Earth save them all. Hana appeared on the main screen. Her face was tired but satisfied. Council speaker, the threat is eliminated. Your system is secure. The speaker, an elderly being from a species known for their wisdom, bowed deeply. Humanity has saved us all. We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. We don't want debt, Hana replied. We want partnership. We want a galaxy where strength protects rather than conquers, where the powerful defend the weak instead of preying on them. Around the chamber, representatives from dozens of species rose to their feet. Some were crying. Others stood in silent respect. All of them understood that something fundamental had changed. Daiwan spoke into the silence. Humanity joined this council, hoping to find friends among the stars. What we found was a galaxy where only the strong survive. So we became strong. But we didn't become monsters. We didn't become conquerors. We became protectors. Melrus added his own voice from the observer section. The council thought it was inviting a young, primitive species to join galactic civilization. Instead, it awakened a sleeping guardian. Humanity didn't need the galaxy to teach them how to survive. They needed the galaxy to show them who was worth protecting. The vote to make humanity a senior council member passed unanimously. The conspirators' sentences were commuted in light of the crisis, though they would still face punishment. Trade agreements were rushed through. Offensive pacts were signed. Species that had feared Earth now sought its protection, but Hana was clear about the terms. Earth will help defend council space, but we won't be your weapon. We won't be sent to conquer your enemies. We fight to protect, not to dominate. Any species that wants humanity's help must earn it through friendship, not demand it through politics. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy slowly adjusted to its new reality. Human ships patrolled trade routes, making them safe for the first time in decades. Pirates disappeared. Raiders found new careers. The aggressive species that had planned expansion, now focused on peaceful development. G1 returned to Earth a hero. But she spent her first day back at the memorial wall, adding names. The battle against the Scourge had cost lives. 217 names were added to the wall. 217 people who gave everything to protect a galaxy that had given humanity nothing. We need to make sure they know, she told the wall. Every species out there needs to understand what these people died for. Not for conquest, not for glory, for the simple idea that the strong should protect the weak. Yuna stood beside her. Do you think they'll understand? Some will, G1 said. Some won't. But that's okay. We didn't do this for gratitude. We did it because it was right. Day 1 remained at the council as humanity's ambassador. But now when he spoke, The galaxy listened. His words carried the weight of Earth's actions. When he talked about peace, species believed him because they had seen humanity choose peace when they could have chosen war. When he talked about justice, species respected him because they had seen humanity uphold it even against conspirators. Admiral Taiyang's fleet remained in council space, a visible reminder of humanity's commitment and capability. But rather than inspiring fear, the fleet became a symbol of security. Children on distant worlds drew pictures of human ships protecting their planets. Songs were written about the battle against the Scourge. Humanity had finally taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as protectors. The sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy was better for it. The invaders had come to Earth expecting easy prey. Instead, they discovered humanity's true power. Not just weapons or ships or technology, but the strength of purpose, the will to protect those who couldn't protect themselves, the wisdom to know that true power comes not from the ability to destroy, but from the choice to defend, and the galaxy would never be the same.